Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, here's another Phillips H. Lord's production, Mr. District Attorney. This episode, starring Jay Josten, was originally broadcast 72 years ago today, April 11th, 1951, in the case of the Money Machine. And we thank you for tuning in. On this Tuesday, this happens to be the 11th day of April, the 101st day of the year, 264 days remaining until the end of the year. This is International Louie Day. This is Richard Berry, the author's birthday. Sadly, he signed away the rights to the song in 1959 for $750 to finance his wedding. That would be over $7,700 today. Though he did get a settlement in the mid-'80s that helped him out of poverty, he passed away in 1997 at the age of 61. And I read a part of an interview that he did with the London Independent when he went over to London in the 80s. And he said, money was not important. It was the music. And it was the record companies that would buy the rights to these records that would keep, as he would say, keep us boys going. Now, things going on in this date in history. Abraham Lincoln made his last public speech on this date in 1865. 1876, the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks organized. In 1899, Spain ceded Puerto Rico to the U.S., Einstein revealed his theory of relativity on this date in 1905, and in 1921, Iowa became the first state to impose a cigarette tax. 1945, the U.S. forces liberated the Buchenwald concentration camp. 1951, President Truman relieved General Douglas MacArthur of the overall command in Korea. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. 1961, the trial of Adolf Eichmann began in Jerusalem. The Palm Sunday tornado outbreak of 1965 on this date, 51 tornadoes hit in 6 Midwestern states, 256 people killed. President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1968 on this date, prohibiting discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of housing. In Santa Monica, California, the 1968 Academy Awards took place. Host Bob Hope had words regarding the recent killing of Martin Luther King Jr.
The men who began our industry had at least one thing in common with the man from Atlanta. They had a dream. It has taken time, but the dreams of the merchants and the martyr have begun to merge. If not out of idealism, then out of necessity. Another martyr said it all. United we stand, divided we fall.
In the Heat of the Night won Best Picture, but the big story was that Dr. Dolittle was nominated for Best Picture and Truman Capote's In Cold Blood was not. 1970, Apollo 13 launched. 1974, the first of 4 sets of subpoenas sent from the House Judiciary Committee on this date, ignored by the Nixon administration, and that moved Senator Sam Erwin to threaten more.
We don't like the surgeon's knife, but sometimes it comes a cancer. That the only way you can eradicate it is by the use of the surgeon's knife. And I think you can have such a thing as a cancer on the body politic. It has to be eradicated the same way. And I'm frank to state, and I'm not stating this in nature of a threat, but I've been given, as chairman of that commission, a mission to perform.
North Carolina Senator Sam Ervin, the Nixon administration totally refused to cooperate. President Reagan returned to the White House on this date in 1981 from hospital 12 days after he was wounded in an assassination attempt. 1988, Cher won her only Academy Award for Best Actress in the movie Moonstruck.
I don't think that this means that I am somebody, but I guess I'm on my way. Thank you.
Cher had been nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role 4 years earlier for Silkwood. 1996, 7-year-old Jessica Dubroff killed while attempting to become the youngest person to fly an airplane across the U.S.
Why decide to do this sort of what many think would be a dangerous trip?
Well, I believe it was my dad's idea.
24 hours into her flight, her general aviation aircraft crashed after takeoff from Cheyenne Regional Airport, Cheyenne, Wyoming. The accident and its associated publicity led to federal regulation that prohibited anyone who does not hold at least a private pilot certificate and a current medical certificate from being allowed to manipulate the controls of an aircraft during any record attempt, aeronautical competition, or aeronautical feat. 2001, the detained crew of a U.S. EP-3E aircraft that landed in Hainan, the People's Republic of China, after a collision with a J-8 fighter was released. It was truly an international incident that was basically the result of an mid-air collision between those two fighters, and both countries got to puff out their chests a bit. 2007, charges dropped against 3 former Duke University lacrosse players falsely accused of rape. And it was in 2021, 20-year-old Dante Wright shot and killed in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota by Officer Kimberly Potter, sparking protests in the city when the officer mistook her own gun for her taser. And you watch the video, and she's calling out, "Taser, taser, taser," and then she fired her weapon. It was obvious that she was stressed and it was a bad situation. Passing away on this date in history, the editor and publisher, Francis Barcelos Church, the man behind Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus. Also, actress Dolores Del Rio, the Pointer Sisters' June Pointer, actor Roscoe Lee Brown, author Kurt Vonnegut, the very, very funny Jonathan Winters, and singer and guitarist Jay Giles of the Jay Giles Band. The Secretary of State for 4 presidents, Dean Acheson, born on this date in history, as was the man from Mannequin and Designing Women, Meshack Taylor, born on this date, and a man whom I grew to appreciate more after he stepped out of the ring. Harley Race, the 8-time NWA heavyweight champion, born on this date in history. We miss Harley and men like him. The wife of Robert F. Kennedy, Ethel Kennedy, 95 today. Life is a cabaret. Actually, he didn't sing that. He sang, Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Joel Gray, 90 years old today. From Mary Hartman, Louise Lasser, 84. Lisa Stansfield, all around the world tonight. She is 57. A man who is getting ready to retire from the ring, and I find it hard that he's going to do that. Dustin Patrick Runnels, better known as Gold Dust, Black Rain, and Dustin Rhodes, the son of the American Dream. Dustin Rhodes, 54, working his last years through AEW, and singer Joss Stone is 36 today. Though some of the people who celebrate the 11th day of April as their birthday, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And we're going to go back 72 years to April 11th, 1951. Jay Josten, starring as Mr. District Attorney, 9:30 Eastern Time on NBC. We thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox right here on your favorite radio station. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. You know, in our last segment, we talked about today being the inauguration of the tobacco tax, the cigarette tax in the state of Iowa. And our friend Jeff Stein over at KXEL has a treatise about it and taxes in general that will be posted on today's Iowa Almanac. And you can hear what Jeff has to say by going to KXEL.com and look for Jeff's Iowa Almanac. That will be a good thing for you to do and learn something. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We go on this Tuesday to 72 years ago, April 11th, 1951. Jay Josten as Mr. District Attorney in the case of the money machine.
Sal Hepatica and Vitalis present Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as District Attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens.
Mr. District Attorney is brought to you in the public interest as part of the constant fight for a better America by Bristol Myers, the makers of Sal Hepatica for the smile of health and Vitalis for well-groomed hair. Sal Hepatica, Vitalis. And tonight, the case of the money machine.
Who is it?
Let me in, Joyce. I got him with me.
Is he all right? He won't get violent or anything.
Oh, of course he's all right. Sit down, Frank. Take off your coat.
Can he understand, Emil?
Take off your coat. You hear me, Frank?
I understand.
I was worried sick. I still am.
Worried? You just sit there, Frank. You don't have to talk.
Oh.
Did it go all right?
Yeah, there was nothing to it. I slipped in the back door of the asylum and got him out of his room, and here we are. Didn't take an hour.
You sure they won't miss him before morning?
Oh, look, Joyce, I told you I used to work in the joint 3 years ago. I took care of cases like him.
Oh, I know, but won't they find
He's just like a lump of putty or something. You set him down and he stays there.
Well, he doesn't look crazy, I'll say that for him.
No, he lives in a state, something like that. They got a lot of them like him. Always seem to be thinking about something a million miles away.
Frank?
Frank. Now leave him alone. He's all right. Give him a pan of water after a while. We'll keep him in the back room until we hook up with the carny.
A pan of water? Like a dog?
I don't want him cutting himself on any glass, kid. He's a little money machine.
I still wonder if it'll work. No carnival wants a guy working who ought to be in a hatchery.
Well, who's going to know? He'd be a sensation, I tell you. We used to turn him on all the time when I worked the hospital.
Turn him on?
Yeah, sure. The doc explained it one day. He's got a mind for figures, see? That's why I thought we'd build the act as the lightning calculator. You like it?
Ask him something, Emil. You know, just like you were a square in the crowd.
Oh, sure. He likes it. All right, Frankie. Here's one for you. You ready? Look at the way his eyes light up.
Go on, ask him.
Oh, yeah, sure. Multiply, Frank. 3, 6, 9, 2, 1, 8. Got that?
3, 6, 9, 2, 1, 8.
Times 403. Got it?
Times 403.
All right, boy. What's the answer?
The answer is 148,794,854.
Oh, Mr. Gresham is here, Chief.
Oh.
Go right in, please,
Well,
sir.
thank you, Miss Miller. Mr. Gresham, sit down. Sit down. This is Mr. Harrington.
Hi, Mr. Gresham.
Mr. Harrington?
Oh, do you want me, Chief?
Yes, stay if you will, please, Miss Miller. You're with the state hospital, Mr. Gresham.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're familiar with the institution.
Yeah, that's for the chronic insane, isn't it?
We have the heavier load of the state's incurables, yes, Mr. Harrington. I've been in charge of protection out there for the last year.
Oh, yes, we know.
I know you're busy, so I'll make this brief. When the attendants checked roll this morning, we found one of the patients missing.
Uh-oh. Yes, go on, Mr. Gresham.
Well, naturally, finding him again is part of my job. However, I wanted you to have a full report, too.
Yes, we'd like to have. Take this down, will you, Miss Miller?
Right, Chief.
A man or a woman, Mr. Gresham?
A man. His name is Kent. Frank Kent. I'm not a doctor, Mr. D.A., but I do know his history.
Yeah, which is what?
Well, without using technical terms, Kent is, off in another world is one way to describe him.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
He's seldom violent. In fact, you're seldom aware of him at all.
Yes, well, could he become violent, Mr. Gresham?
My answer would be yes. Most of them could, if the right things happened.
Yeah.
However, you can get more exact dope from the doctors.
You got a description of him?
Oh, I know Frank quite well. He has a unique ability, actually. Something I've never run up against before.
A unique ability, did you say, Mr. Gresham?
That's right. He has a head for figures, mathematics. He's amazing, Mr. Harrington. He can add, subtract, multiply all in his head. And all in a matter of seconds.
No matter how complicated the numbers?
Well, I've never seen him stumped yet.
Yes, there are cases on record like that. Some of them phenomenal.
Yeah, how did he escape, Mr. Gresham?
Sometime last night, his door was open from the outside.
Maybe some other patient.
No, Mr. Harrington, that's literally impossible. There are too many doors to get through.
And you have no idea where he might be now?
I know Frank's habits, Mr. D.A. I think perhaps I can trace him. Where I need your help, though,
yes,
we want to know who opened that door.
Here he is, my friends, the mental model, the mathematical Mr. Hines. He adds, he subtracts, he multiplies, he divides any number you name. Get that, friends? Any number, no matter how low or low. And now, just to show you what he does on the inside, here's an actual demonstration before your very eyes. Miss Book.
Yes, Mr. Hudson.
Is the lightning calculator ready?
Quite ready, Mr. Hudson.
All right, folks, give me a number. Any number, just shout it out. You, sir. Beg pardon? All right, now, 596. Thank you, sir.
596.
And you, sir, will you supply the second number? Anything at all, sir? Beg pardon? All right. Times 384. Got that?
We're ready, Mr. Hudson.
Times 384.
The answer, please.
The answer is 228,864.
Thank you, lightning calculator. All right, folks, the show on the inside will begin immediately. Don't miss this amazing demonstration. There's plenty of room on the inside. Follow the metal master into the tent. Thank you, friends. The show is about to begin.
Come on, let's go, Harry.
Abel, who's taking tickets?
Oh, wait till I get this flap shut.
Gee, the tent's filling up.
I told you he'd be a sensation, didn't I? Now we can make real plans. Where is he?
Oh, he's all right. He's just changing into his costume. He's been doing it all week.
Well, get him out and on the platform. If we turn this crowd over fast, we can talk plans before dinner.
What do you mean, plans?
Well, you think I'm going to waste my time on a carny lot all spring?
But you just said
They could play class dates, George. Maybe even a first-rate nightclub.
What?
Mental acts are big, you know that. I might even teach him some routines. Come on, help me get him going.
Well, I still say we ought to stay right...
For what?
Who are you? My name is Gresham. I'm just sitting here in the trailer talking to Frank.
Yeah? Well, look, buddy, we don't allow nobody to... Wait a minute. How'd you know his name?
Frank, who is this man?
I'll handle this, Joyce.
Mr. Gresham is my friend.
Be quiet, Frank. All right, let's have it.
I'm from State Hospital. I've come to take Frank home.
We'll just use this desk here in the hospital boardroom, Harrington. Did you bring that diagram, Miss Miller?
Yes, sir, right here, Chief. I marked the location of Frank Kent's room right there.
Yeah, here we are. Here's the corner right here. Mm-hmm. Now, if you ask me, he went out through here and right in this door here.
Yes, and directly to the kitchen. Yes, from here it would be easy to get out into the yard.
Sure, if you have help.
Yes. Yes, I want to go over that with Gresham. What did his office say, Harrington?
Well, I told the guard that we're over here in this wing, Chief. Mm-hmm. He said he'd tell Gresham as soon as he comes in.
But he's not here now?
No, and he hasn't been since last night.
Well, it's my fault, actually. I should have made sure he kept in touch with us.
He'll be back, Chief. In the meantime, we can try to figure out what happened.
Yes. Well, it narrows down to this. Kent's been gone over a week.
10 days now. Mm-hmm. Gresham can't find a trace of him.
And there's nothing turned up at missing persons either. I checked again just before we left to come out here.
Well, all right, let's assume this. if a fellow patient couldn't have released Kent.
And that holds because they were all locked up, too.
Yes, exactly. Then the next guess is an employee.
Chief, you mean one of the nurses or doctors?
No, not necessarily. It might have been a guard. At least someone who knows these passageways very well.
Yeah, and knows where Frank's room was.
Yes, that's right. And finally, someone who wanted him out.
Well, it couldn't have been a relative. His record doesn't list any.
We'll dig more into the investigation in a few minutes. From 72 years ago, April 11th, 1951, Mr. District Attorney here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 72 years ago follows these words from your favorite radio station. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Mike Lindell and MyPillow launching the MyPillow 2.0. Now, when Mike invented MyPillow, it had everything you could want in a pillow. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's discovered a new technology that makes MyPillow even better. Of course, the patented adjustable fill of the original MyPillow, but now with brand new fabric with a temperature-regulating thread, it's the softest, smoothest, and coolest pillow you'll ever own. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over in the middle of the night. And more great news on the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer with my promo code Wyatt. MyPillow 2.0 is 100% made in the USA, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square to receive the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free offer. Use my promo code Wyatt or call 1-800-928-4715. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of Mr. District Attorney, broadcast at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, April 11th, 1951. In the newspapers of that Wednesday, 72 years ago, these were some of the headlines. President Truman early today forced General Douglas MacArthur from all his commands. The president said he had concluded that MacArthur, quoting, is unwilling to give his wholehearted support, end quote, to United States and United Nations policies. Truman immediately designated Lieutenant General Matthew B. Ridgway as MacArthur's successor as Supreme Commander, Allied Powers, Commander-in-Chief, United Nations Command, Commander-in-Chief Far East, and Commanding General, U.S. Army Far East. In a statement, Truman asserted that military commanders must be governed by policies and directives of the government, and in times of crisis, this consideration is particularly compelling. The president appointed Lieutenant General James A. Van Fleet to succeed Ridgway to take over active command of the 8th Army. Announcement of the almost unprecedented dismissal of the hero general made at a rare news conference at the White House at 1 a.m. Eastern Time, the time fixed to coincide as nearly as possible with the delivery to MacArthur at Tokyo of the order relieving him of his commands effectively at once. Removal of General MacArthur may be a preliminary step to a Far Eastern Munich. That, according to Senator Nolan, the Republican of California. The senator, a strong MacArthur supporter, saw in President Truman's replacement of the general a great victory for Secretary of State Aitchison and his Far East policies. Nolan saying in a statement, by his actions, the president has yielded to British and American critics of General MacArthur. Our position in Japan and the whole Far East is placed in jeopardy by an action which most observers will interpret as a preliminary step to a Far East Munich. General MacArthur said he would have no immediate statement. Former Georgia Governor M.E. Thompson resigned from a top price control job last night with an angry charge that the Truman administration and the Democrat National Committee had put this country in a mess. Quoting, conditions existing in the national administration are so deplorable today that loyalty to party and patriotism to country constitute a conflict. Thompson announcing his resignation as co-director of the price controls for the U.S. territories and possessions. He said his specific reason for quitting the price job was that he had been on the job for 12 weeks at a temporary consultant's pay of $53.48 without doing a lick of work. He said price controller Michael Vidasal never gave him anything to do and that he refused to be a parasite on the public anymore. Those are a few of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Wednesday, April 11th, 1951 on your radio Mr. District Attorney, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Well, nevertheless, somebody helped him, Miss Miller. Our job is to find out who and why.
Don't worry about Frank, Gresham. Joyce will bring him right back here to the trailer.
As soon as the show is over?
I promised you, didn't I? You don't want that audience to riot, do you?
Well, all right. Can't be much longer.
Well, it sure was a surprise to me, I'll tell you that. Hey, care for a drink?
No, thanks. What was a surprise?
Finding out Frank was in a nut house. I hope you know I wouldn't have had anything to do with him if I'd known.
You'll still have to answer some questions. As I explained, there's some doubt about how Frank got out.
Well, you got me. He turned up here in the carny, and I hired him. That's all I know.
Mm-hmm. You've always been with the carnival?
Yeah, for years. What makes you ask that?
When I was standing in the crowd outside, I asked some of the other performers about you. None of them seemed to know much.
Oh? You ask at the front office?
Not yet. I imagine the district attorney will see to that.
The DA?
I told you his disappearance could have become very serious.
Oh, sure. Well, tell me, how'd the DA find him here?
He didn't. I did.
Oh. Then he don't know you found him yet?
Not yet. My job is to see that he gets back.
Sure. Well, you can count on me, Gresham. Like I said, he turned up and I hired him. That's about all I know.
He looks thinner than when he was at the hospital. Has he been well?
You got me. He seemed to want to be alone, so I didn't bother him much.
I see. They're taking a long time.
The crowds are crazy about him. He'll quit in a minute. Joyce handles the questions for him.
Amazing. I had a hunch I'd find him in a place like this. That's why I looked in that magazine.
Billboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me. You know, it's hard for me to believe.
What is?
Oh, that he could, have a couple of screws missing. He's such a simple guy.
His mind isn't.
He's sure nuts about fingers. You, sure you won't have a drink?
No, not now.
Just cheap whiskey. I don't usually go for drinking myself. Take a bottle like this and... Simple-minded jerk. How do you like it now, huh? Come on, you're lousing up the chair.
Come on, Frank. We got to change him.
Hey, don't just stand there. Help me do something with him.
That's my friend.
You keep out of this, Frank. Joyce, lock the door.
What did you do to him?
I hit him with the bottle. Now, will you lock the door?
Mr. Gresham is my friend. I think if I'm
Shut
hungry,
up. I don't want to hear another word out of you. Joyce?
I'm locking it.
All right. Now put Frank in his closet.
What?
You heard me. Put him in and lock it. Go on.
Not now. I want to stay with my friend.
Go with Joyce, Frank. Go on.
Come on, Frank. In here.
Please?
Aim on.
Frank, get in there. You want a belt in the teeth?
No.
In here, Frank. That's good.
And don't make any noise.
Any more orders, mastermind?
Now, don't get smart.
Smart? When you just hit him over the head?
You think I'm going to let him take Frank back after all my work?
He'll only find you again, Emil. I told you this was no good.
Oh, look, this creep was on his own. All I got to do is change my name. And Frank's, too.
What happens when he comes to? You going to keep hitting him the rest of his life?
I don't have to.
Why not? Do you think he'll ever come... What do you mean?
The rest of his life is over, kid. He's dead.
I'm sorry, Harrington. I'm so shocked when you told me it was Roy Gresham. I didn't get all the facts.
I know how you feel, Chief. I couldn't believe it either.
Harrington, you said he died from a blow on the head?
Yeah. Doc Hogan's got him downstairs in the morgue now.
Where was his body discovered?
In a boxcar.
What?
Yeah, in a boxcar on a railroad side, Miss Miller. Switch out about 10 miles out of town.
His death occurred there?
No, I doubt it, Chief. There weren't any signs of fight or anything. It's more like somebody killed him and then threw him in the empty car.
Yes, well, we'll know more when Dr. Colgan's through. How about his effects?
Everything was on him. Keys, identification, billfold.
How much money?
About $40. Stuff's all coming up in an envelope.
Jewelry?
Yeah, watch, ring, the usual.
I see. Now, robbery is pretty well ruled out then.
I think so.
Yes. Get the state hospital on the phone, will you, Miss Miller?
Oh, sure, right away, Chief.
I asked Gresham if Frank Kent could turn violent.
And he said if the right things happened.
Yes.
I wonder if they did.
Haven't you even got him into his tuxedo yet? It goes on in another hour.
Emil, I'm scared.
You're what? All right, shut the door.
The door.
Never mind, Frank. I wasn't talking to you. I said shut the door.
Yes, I...
There's nothing to be scared about, Joyce. You saw the papers this morning. They barely mentioned that bum from the hospital.
I mean here. This isn't a carny anymore, Emil. This is a nightclub.
Hey, you're telling me. $40 a night.
The police will be looking for Frank. Don't you see that? More than ever now.
So what?
So what? When they find Frank, they'll know about that man.
Ah, you think I'm a dope? You think I ain't got that squared away? Joyce, shut up. Look, kid, who was looking for Frank? Gresham, wasn't it?
Mr. Gresham.
Shut up or I'll throw you in the closet. What if they do find him?
But
who will they think killed him? Me? Or a nut who escaped?
You mean you're going to tell them Frank killed him?
Mr. Gresham.
I'm telling nobody nothing. Chances are it'll be a long time before they find us.
But if they do, what then?
They'll assume Frank conked them. It's natural.
Mr. Gresham is dead.
We know that, Frank. You're my money machine, kid, and I'm keeping you turned on full.
April 11th, 1951, Mr. District Attorney on this Tuesday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Bob Bailey, Virginia Gregg, Let George Do It from 75 years ago, April 12, 1948, The Body in the Closet. Martin Bentner hired George Valentine to find his missing brother Phil. Phil, though, has problems of his own. That's coming up on tomorrow's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now the conclusion of Mr. District Attorney, 72 years ago, April 11th, 1951.
When the doctor out of the hospital calls, let me know, Miss Miller.
All right, I will, Chief.
I've asked for a full report on Kent's condition.
Uh-huh.
At least if we understand his illness, we'll know what to expect.
And where to find him.
Yes, I'll get that.
Oh, all right.
Maybe the doctor. Yes?
Chief,
Harrington.
I got news.
Yes, where are you?
About 2 miles from that railroad site.
Oh, where Gresham's body was found?
That's right. I found a carnival playing a field out there.
A carnival?
Yeah, Chief. This falls right into our lap. Remember that half a ticket stub we found on Gresham?
Yes. Did you trace it?
Yeah, sure, through the printer. Gresham got it when he paid admission to this carny last night.
A carnival. Of course.
Well, sure, you can just about guess the rest.
Yeah.
Frank Kent was in the sideshow here until this morning.
Yes, who with?
Oh, a guy named Emil Hudson. Oh, and a dame.
Emil Hudson.
Yeah, that's right. Why, does the name mean anything to you?
Yes, it means plenty, Harrington. His name is on the personnel records at the hospital.
Huh?
Yes, he used to work there.
Oh, brother, this is really narrowing down.
Well, all right, let's finish it then. Can you get a lead on where they are now?
Well, Chief, we're stymied there.
Yes?
Looks to me like the three of them pulled out for good.
Joyce.
Sit still, Frank. Now fix your tie.
Mr. Gresham.
Don't keep mentioning him, Frank.
He's my friend.
Yeah, I know.
Mother, I want to introduce my friend.
What?
He wants me to walk to school with him, Mother. May I?
What are you talking about?
If I walk with my friend, they can't laugh at me. Not if I'm with him.
Sure. Sure, now, hold still. You go on in half an hour.
Don't laugh at my friend, Mother. Please don't.
There. Now you look okay.
Mother?
Look, now snap out of it, will you?
You're laughing, Mother. Don't.
What?
Stop, I said.
Frank, let go of me. Frank,
Stop
no.
it. Stop
Frank,
it.
Help!
Don't laugh.
Frank, let go. What you get him all excited for? Are you nuts?
They're trying to kill me.
Relax, I said. Relax.
Don't hurt me, Mother. Don't.
Wait a minute. Slam the door, Joyce. You want the manager to come in here? You stay where you are.
Now listen to me, Frank. We go on in a minute. And you're going to do a show.
Mother?
Now think, Frank.
Think?
Numbers. Nothing but numbers. 8 times 8. Tell me.
8 times 8.
Tell me.
The answer is 64.
All right. 8, 9, 6, 5 times 4, 6, 9.
I'll call back.
Yes, thank you. The
Yeah,
district
that's
attorney
right.
will call
Yes,
you
I have
more
that.
information.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, thank you. No, that's all we need. Right?
Chief, nothing so far.
Me neither.
That's all right. We're finished.
Finished?
Yes, almost finished, Harrington. Get your things, Miss Miller. You too, Harrington.
You got what we want,
Oh, I'm sure of it. Now let's go.
If I may have your...
Well, this is quite a change for me, Harrington.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I don't get to nightclubs very often.
No, me neither, Chief. Not even on a visit like this.
Chief, he's coming out on the floor.
Oh, yes, I see.
Now,
All right, Harrington. You'd better take your station over by the wall.
Right. See you in a minute.
Does someone over there have a problem?
This gentleman has a problem. May I have the numbers, please? Are you ready, calculator?
Ready?
6, 7, 9, 6.
Repeat that, please. 6, 7, 9, 6.
Multiplied by 7, 8, 9.
Times 7, 8, 9. The answer, please. The answer is 5,362,044. I thank you. May we have another question, please? You, sir?
Yes, I have a question.
Go right ahead, sir. The human calculator never fails. May we have it quiet, please? Go ahead, sir.
My question is, who killed Roy Gresham?
What's the question? Wait a minute.
Who killed him, Frank? Tell me, quickly.
Stay put, sister. I'm right behind you.
Frank?
Amel killed him. Amel hit him.
Shut up!
All right, boy. Just stand where you are.
All right, just stay at your tables, ladies and gentlemen. This is all part of the show. Brophy's at the door, Miss Miller. See that he takes charge of Frank,
He's
will you?
all right, Chief. He isn't moving out of his chair.
Let go of me, you clown. What are you trying to do?
Amel, make him stop.
All right, take them out the side, Harrington. Come on, both of you. This show is over.
Well, there's one good thing, Chief.
Yes?
Frank is back in the hospital.
He certainly is, and under good care once again, Miss Miller.
Yeah, so are Joyce and Emil. Under our care. Real special.
Yes. Joyce didn't stand up very well under questioning, did she, Harrington?
No, I'll say she didn't. She even handed us the bottle Emil used to kill Gresham. Complete with fingerprints.
Well, Chief, actually, you didn't need Frank's statement at all, did you?
No, Miss Miller, but it helped to unnerve both Joyce and Emil. That, and it gave them no chance to get together on their stories. And that's why she broke down so readily.
Oh, it was a cinch. After that ticket stub led us to the Carney, all we had to do was phone nightclubs until we found one that had just booked a mental act.
Yes, Emil boasted that he'd put Frank into a nightclub, Harrington, and some of the carnival people were only too glad to give us that suggestion.
Yeah, some suggestion. We find them waiting for us. Well, Frank sure got a mind, all right. I'm glad he's got a good care now and in a place where he belongs.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy tonight to join the San Francisco Junior Chamber of Commerce and station KNDC in naming our first honorary Mr. District Attorney. He is 15-year-old Alvin Julian of Sequoia High School in Redwood City, California. Alvin, at great personal risk, lowered himself into a narrow drain pipe to rescue a 13-month-old baby that had fallen 10 feet into the pit. Our first honorary Mr. District Attorney, Alvin Julian. Information on how you can become an honorary Mr. District Attorney can be supplied by the station to which you are listening. You know, ladies and gentlemen, in each of us somewhere there exists fear. A clever criminal realizes this, and often he can twist that fear into tragedy. We encounter such a man in next week's highly dramatic case of Scared to Death, and I urge you to join us for it. Until then, thank you, and good night.
The names of all characters in tonight's dramatization are fictitious, and any resemblance to names of living persons or actual places is purely coincidental. Our stars were Jay Josten in the title role, Len Doyle as Harrington, and Vicky Vola as Miss Miller, with music by Charles Paul. The program was produced and directed by Edward A. Byron and written by Robert J. Shaw. Mr. District Attorney was originated by Phillips H. Lord. And remember, Sal Hepatica for the smile of health, Vitalis for well-groomed hair. Sal Hepatica, Vitalis. Fred Utel speaking for Bristol Myers, who invites you to tune in again next week for Mr. District Attorney.
9:30 p.m., April 11th, 1951, 72 years ago, Mr. District Attorney here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows on demand. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, find our social media links, and most importantly, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money helps us acquire additional classic radio collections and maintain our distribution links, rather. Classicradio.stream. Have a great Tuesday. Tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on our favorite radio station.